is not in your book, I will give you a formula sheet that has the formula for perimeter, area of a square, area of a rectangle, area of a parallelogram, area of a triangle, and area of a trapezoid. Okay? You have to know these formulas. They will not always be given to us. So we have to start memorizing what that area of a square looks like, what that formula for area of a parallelogram looks like, what that formula for area of a triangle looks like. Now it's going to get a little bit more complex as we dive into area of a trapezoid. Okay? I'm going to show you that this shape right here is a trapezoid. Okay? It is a quadrilateral. It has 4 sides. Okay? But it is not a parallelogram. Raise your hand if you can tell me why that is not a parallelogram. Josh? There's not 2 sets of parallel sides. If you notice, my left and right side, my semi-vertical lines would eventually cross if I continued in the direction that I was going, right? Okay, so what we have to think about is this shape in a whole new world, okay? Very quickly, just to see where you are, how do I find the average of something? If I want to find the average of something, how do I do that?
Average area?
No, just in general, totally not related to area at all. How do I find the average of something?
Rounding.
If I had a test score of a 7, a 9, and a 12, and I wanted to find the average test score, how could I do that?
Rounding.
Paul, how could I do that?
You can add it up and then divide it by 4.
You've heard of the term mean, right? Add them all up and divide by the number of numbers you have. So I would say 7 plus 9 plus 12, which is, can anybody do that for me?
We have extra 1. 28.
Bring it to
28. 28.
28, then I would take 28 and divide it by 3, and that would give me an average. Okay? We're going to apply that same concept when we talk about area of a trapezoid. Okay? Again, area of a trapezoid has a very specific formula that we have to work with. Let me show you that formula. Area equals the height times base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2. Okay? It looks complex, folks, but it's not real hard. Okay? If I think about this shape here that I have, this trapezoid. Okay? We know base is the bottom, right?
Yeah.
Okay? When I have a trapezoid, are my 2 bases, my bottom and my top base, are they going to be the same measurement?
No.
No. Okay? So let's say this one is 8, and let's say this is 4. Okay? Essentially what we're going to be doing, because this part of the box is bigger than this part of the box, right? Okay? So their theory is if I can find halfway in between, that halfway point, that's going to help me find the area. Okay? I'm going to find that halfway point by finding the average, in quotes, I'm using quotes, of my two bases, my top base and my bottom base. Okay? So this says base 1 plus base 2. All I have to do for this top part up here is add 4 plus 12. I'm sorry, 4 plus 8. Okay? So watch as I work through the formula on this one. Then the packet that I handed out to you, we're going to work through a couple of those together. Okay? So, when I think about this formula, it says, I'm going to rewrite it down here, area, I'm just going to use A, equals the height, and we'll say our height is 7. We'll say all of these are meters. Okay? My height times my base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2. Alright, so when I look at my shape, base 1, I want you to get in the habit of rewriting the formula. So I'm going to say A equals my height times base 1 is 8 plus base 2 is 4 divided by 2. Okay, let's simplify the parentheses and not worry about anything else. 8 plus 4 is
12
divided by 2.
6.
Okay, so this part gives me 6. I still have this h out here. Okay, so I still have to multiply this 6 times my height. My height is, so area equals my height times this word here. My area is 42 meters squared. Okay? I gave you this sheet that looks like this. Okay? And you'll notice on this sheet, number 1, that I gave you the area in several different, or the formula for area in several different ways at the top. I didn't change the way I gave it to you, I changed the way I wrote it. This one, I actually wrote base 1, base 2, okay? Because I want you to be familiar with different ways you can see this. There is yet another way that I can write this formula that I'll show you in a minute, okay? This says the same thing, I just wrote what the H stands for. Okay? This down here says the same thing, I just used all letters instead of the words. Does that make sense? My H still stands for my height. B with a little 1 by it still stands for base 1. B with a little 2 by it still stands for base 2. I'm still dividing it by 2. Are we following that these three formulas are the same thing?
Yes.
Okay. Then I worked through one for you here, the example. I have a base of 13 and a base of 7. Okay? Here's my original formula. Here I filled in base 1 of 7, base 2 of 13. Okay? And I filled in my height of 4. Do we see that? All I did is replace the numbers with the letters. That's all I did in that step. Okay? Now I'm going to simplify my parentheses. So 7 plus 13 is,
20.
notice I wrote 20. I still left divided by 2. Okay? The next step, I took 20 divided by 2 and got
10.
Okay? My final step, I took that 10 times my height and got
40.
40. Okay, let's work through number 2 together. Work with me. Here's my formula. A equals, I'm just going to start pulling these numbers to plug them in where they belong. Okay? My height is 4 times base 1 is 3 plus base 2 is 10. I have to divide that by 2. Are you following where I'm getting those numbers?
Yeah.
Yep.
Does it have to be like the base 2 is the top and the base 1 is the bottom?
As long as you're adding the top and the bottom, I don't care if you do 10 plus 3 or 3 plus 10. Does that answer your question? Okay, now I'm going to simplify my parentheses. 3 plus 10 is 13 divided by 2. I still have to multiply it times my height. Okay, all I did is wrote 3 plus 10 as 13. I kept everything else the same. Okay, then I would have to take 13 divided by 2, and some of you know that that's going to give me 6.5. If you're not sure of that, take your little pen out here to the side, take 13 divided by 2. It goes in there 6 times, giving me 12. Bring my 1 down. I cannot write it as a remainder. I have to add a decimal point and a 0. My decimal point goes straight up into my answer. I bring down my 0. How many times does 2 go into 10? 6.5. Okay? Now I have to take my 6.5 times my height of 4. Okay? So out to the side, I'm going to take 6.5 times 4. I pretend like the decimal point is not there. 4 times 5 is 20. I put my 0, carry my 2. 4 times 6 is 24, plus 2 is 26. I have 1 decimal point. I'm going to move 1 decimal point in my answer, giving me a final answer of area equals 26 inches squared. Okay? These are a lot of steps, but they're not difficult as long as you follow this formula. Plug those numbers in. Make sure that you're not making silly math fact errors. What?
So this paper is going to be like a book.
Yes, it's also our homework as you flip to page 2. I should have copied it front and back. I had a failure at the copy machine.
There's a lot of paper.
I want you to try number 4 on your own. Or number 3, I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm doing.